the podcast with him tomorrow. What's up, folks? Hey, man, SEC Connect. We are on board today. 4 out of the 5. Chris is somewhere playing NCAA 2025. Man, he's like getting in right now. But guys, hey, man, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, man. Wipe your feet before you come in my damn house. Please do that. Please believe it. But man, you got myself, you got Ty, you got Jay, and you got Steven, man. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
I miss y'all.
We're almost here.
I know, man.
Dude, we're like 2 weeks away, like a week away from actual football, 2 weeks away from week 1. How do y'all feel?
Man, I'm loving it, dude. I can't believe
Love
it.
this
It's
place.
football season.
Can almost taste it.
Can just taste it, guys.
My wife's already mad, man. She's like, I'm not planning my weekends around college football. I'm like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are. Sorry.
You know we're close to college football really being back when there's a damn war online about weddings in the fall.
Yes! The fall wedding discourse always populates when the season's about to come because somebody was dumb enough to put a wedding that weekend.
That was my
Listen,
wife.
Get married in 108 degrees like my wife and I did for the love of the game, right? We got married in the middle of July in Texas.
There you go,
For
man.
the love of the game.
Ours
Or
in
get married
September,
on a
dude.
Friday.
Or a Friday. I like that.
That is dope. That is dope.
Fridays
I
are
got married
good.
on a Friday,
That is
and it worked out fine for everybody.
that is awesome. I actually like that idea.
We'll talk about that later, though.
We got a lot of comments coming in. David Whitehead says that word I'm never going to say.
Boomer, baby. Go on ahead and say it. You know you want to.
Davey Fockett has the eyes emoji. I don't know what the eyes are for.
He misses us. He's
yeah,
glad that
man.
the show's back. We talk all the time. Dave be excited. He's like, man, when y'all coming back on? I'm like, we gonna get together. And now we
gonna get
back,
together.
man.
And now we back, man. Alan says Kentucky will be ranked when Texas faces them, which is good, which I think that's something that Steven's going to bring up today. We were talking about this behind the scenes about the dark horse teams, and Kentucky was one of those teams that Steven brought up in the chat. So we'll talk about that today too as well. Bevo's bodyguard goes, great day to be a Longhorn. Hook 'em. Yeah, man. Always great day to be, always great. Longhorns are great. So Raymond Villa goes, Chris is trying to get Auburn as a client.
Does he do defense law? Because they might need that.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Oh, man. Oh, my son has a dad. Hey, what's up, big guy? What are you doing? You're supposed to be in the shower. Yeah, look at that. He says, I, dad, not a dad. Come on, get out of here, buddy. Get out of here.
Hey, the kids got their own lingo. They got their own languages. That is
man.
hilarious.
Cal goes, I wouldn't plan my weekends around Texas football either. Shut up, Cal. I like that, though. That's funny.
That was a good one. That's a good one.
And here's my son again. He corrects it. Hey, dad. All right, I see you, buddy. Love you too. Stephen G. Hey, the full SEC Connect. -1. We're missing Chris, man.
I mean, is Chris real?
Yes, he is. Chris is real. He is real because I met him in person in Oklahoma City when I was down there a couple weeks ago.
You did. I forgot
we had
you
a
did
good
come to
time.
town.
Yeah, man, we had a good time, man. Steven says he missed us during the off season. I'm just going through the comments, folks. Let's see.
But we've got to talk about these dark horses, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the dark horses. Let's talk about the dark horses.
I saw while I was gone, y'all were talking about Auburn's hot in recruiting, Bama cold.
No, we didn't say Bama cold.
That was just the title of, I think, Jay.
Oh, Jay put that on there. Oh,
I think I may have.
I was about to say, I didn't put that. Bama got the number 1 ranked class in the country, right? Or number 2.
Auburn's on fire on the trail. Not going to dispute that. Great work from them. Don't be throwing them stones.
No, Bama's doing
I was just asking if it was cold. I didn't say they were cold. It was a question mark there.
Bama's doing their thing in recruiting.
Because it was quiet at that point. Y'all had already put together the number 1 class, so y'all are kind of done.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But listen, Auburn, great work on the trail. I mean, no ifs and buts about it. And I can't stand the what are they? The War Eagles, the Tigers. They don't even know. But great work by them.
It's the in-state stuff, man. That's been crazy, man. They've been just living on Alabama kids. But anyway, Steven, I want him to start us off with this.
I got to hear this. Thing.
So
I missed it.
You picked the right week to be out when we talked about Auburn tie. So it's appropriate. But in terms of dark horse teams, this is what I, kind of was thinking about. And I saw a few people in the industry, JD from On3 had picked Kentucky to beat Texas. And he picked Texas to go 10-2, but one of the two losses that he had Georgia was one in Austin, but Kentucky being the other. And he made a lot of good points, honestly. I mean, I don't take things personally like that. It's too early in the offseason. But one of the things I looked at is right now, of all the SEC teams, who's unranked, right? There's not a whole lot of buzz. Maybe there's a lot of turnover. So some of the teams I thought of were Kentucky, Auburn again,
Florida,
and I'm going to add Arkansas to this list. We'll talk about Arkansas coming up here in a little bit, as well as South Carolina. And when I say dark horse, I'm not necessarily saying they're going to win the conference. They're going to make it to the SEC championship game. I'm saying these are teams that are not ranked right now, maybe not even picked to go to bowls, but they're going to make noise. They're going to have big upsets, and they're going to finish the season ranked and be in contention throughout and make a lot of noise in the SEC. So those are what I consider dark horses. And maybe we can even have conversations about dark horse players and coaches.
Yeah, that's a good one
too.
Next week would be great for that. That's great for next week.
Yeah. But Steven, just kicking off with Kentucky, man, I got their schedule pulled up, so that everybody can see it. And look, man, it's they got I'm not gonna say it's an easy schedule. They got a pretty difficult schedule, man. What do you think?
Oh, that's a challenging schedule.
It's an interesting schedule because they get Georgia and South Carolina at home. I mean, their first 4 games are at home. The big thing with Kentucky is, and this is the first player, is Brock Vandagriff. And him going up against that former Georgia team, he's talked a lot about practicing against them, all the things he learned, being in an environment where Kentucky also still has pretty good players on both sides in terms of the line of scrimmage. The weapons that he'll have with Dane Key and Barian Brown, and it looks like they'll potentially have a third weapon at receiver in the brother Macklin. So they could potentially have 3 receivers and a former 5-star all-world quarterback,
Tyler
the rock.
Yeah.
It could get interesting.
Vandagriff,
maybe not for Georgia, but for other teams is the point here, right? I mean, when we look at the schedule, if they're going to be a team that's going to win, let's say 8 games, they got to go 2-0, right? Like to start the season, that would be the first thing I'd say. They're going to have to be 3-1, and then that Ole Miss game, Vanderbilt, they're going to have to win, potentially beat Florida or Auburn or split those. Really interesting. And then their last game of the season is Texas.
Well, Texas, and they got Louisville.
My bad.
Yeah, Louisville. They close out with Louisville. Yeah.
Always close with
where's their last game? Yeah. So, and JD's point about the Texas game is Texas having to go to College Station the following week. And
so maybe a lookover game.
That's gonna be the Rat Poison game.
And also, man, once you look at that, having Kentucky have a bye week and then Murray State, so basically having 2 bye weeks before Texas. Yeah,
back-to-back bye weeks to get healthy. Yeah, that plays into it. I can totally understand that.
That is a trap game. It's a trap game for Texas. Texas could get had in that game. I don't think it's going to happen, but Texas could get had in that game. But man, look, I'm a big fan of Brown at wide receiver at Kentucky. I always have been. I mean, I thought he was going to hit the portal, and if he was going to hit the portal, I was like, please, Texas, go after that guy. They got some weapons too. They have weapons. Their wide receivers last year, I thought Kentucky might have had, just on paper alone, last year going into the season. I think I was on record saying that I thought they might have been a top 3 or 4 wide receiver, team in the SEC as a whole, right? Behind Missouri, behind, I still like Bama's wide receiver group, but who else? Who else had really good wide receivers? You had Missouri, you had Bama,
LSU
always. How do I always forget
their guys? But I'm not even worried about what
I'm not worried about them either.
Lacey, Aaron Anderson,
yeah,
Caden Durham's going to be a special back in terms of what he can do out the backfield. as
Yep.
a young guy, I look for him to be dangerous in that capacity. But you're 100% right. And Burke is an unbelievable wide receiver who OU got. But dare I say, if Berrien Brown would have hit the transfer portal, he'd have been the
Dude.
#1 wide receiver
In the portal.
in the portal. Like he's
He's
that
sick.
electric. I mean, he is incredible.
Yeah. he's awesome. And Key's not too shabby himself, man. They just got a hell of a room, man. But I'm a big Berrien Brown fan. It's just a matter, can Brock get in the ball? Is Brock who we all thought Brock was going to be coming out of high school, right? And so
that's the question.
That's the question mark, man. So I think Brock's probably going to be a good quarterback. It's just he was sitting behind some studs, man. You got Carson Beck, who's been in the system for a while at Georgia, right? Prior to him, you had Stetson, right? And it was just like pass the baton to a guy, and Brock will be the next in line, but does he want to wait that long, right? And so Georgia also recruits other 5-star guys on top of him and a whole lot of competition, right? So, look, I think Brock has all the tools, man. And then, like, those weapons that he has, man, with Brown and Key and, and Macklin, man, they're going to be sick. They're going to be sick at the skill positions. My only question is the line. How's offensive line? I haven't done a lot of research on their line, so how is the line? So that's going to be the main thing for them.
My thing, Nino, too, is with going to Brock. Brock is the key to all of this here because last year Kentucky was 7-6, and it kind of matched the way Devin Leary went, and he was up and down. I think Devin Leary touchdown interception ratio was okay. He had 25 touchdowns to 12 picks, but he wasn't the same guy we saw at NC State. He just
not at all.
And it ended up kind of becoming a Ray Davis team, more so running the football, I would say. And they made some look. They played some teams tight. There's a reason why A&M looked at Mark Stoops, by the way. Like, I know people push back against that when they were talking, when they were doing it, but Mark Stoops has this program at least consistently competitive. That's the best way I would phrase this. And I think with Brock, can he take it to where Will Levis was 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Because I didn't like Will Levis the year he
his last year.
The year before, Will Levis was cooking. So, and that's the arm talent aspect because Brock, I mean, Georgia was going to play, Kirby's going to play the guy that's going to protect the football, manage the game, take care of things. Now, Carson Beck is the perfect element because he does have a lot of talent. But with Stetson and them, Stetson was so much older than these guys. I mean, he's older than everybody. But when Stetson was there, he was so much older than them. They just trusted him.
Granddaddy.
Allowed him to develop. But with Brock, that doesn't mean that Brock can't play, right? That doesn't mean that Justin Fields left that program and went to Ohio State and was just fine. So, it's going to be pretty interesting to see another quarterback at Kentucky that's transferred from somewhere else on part 2. Will Levis came in from Penn State. We saw Devin Leary come in from NC State. Now they're bringing in Brock. From Georgia. So let's see how it rolls out.
I'd say, so the question is the offensive line. I'm looking at Phil Steele's right up on them, and this is probably their best line they've had in 3 years.
Oh, but that's perfect for them.
They brought in Gerald Mincey from Tennessee. They got Cox, their left tackle, here for the 7th season, has 156 starts. So the blind side for Brock should be good as long as, Cox remains healthy. And yeah, it appears that the experience-wise, because I think right now they've got, let me see, the guards are juniors, their center is a senior, and that's Cox. Dylan Ray and the other Cox, Marquise. So yeah, they've got 5 dudes that are juniors up. So they've got a lot of experience going on that line. So if Kentucky gets it together, yeah, there's a very, very, very good chance that they could be the bigger dark horse. Like, it's funny because when I went back and looked at their records over the last like 6 years.
Are you about to go into the 10-year?
Yes.
The 10 win? Yeah.
Yes.
This is fascinating.
It's fascinating, dog. So, like, when Stoops got there, 12-26 was his first initial record. From there, they went 7-6, 7-6, 10-3. Then 7-6, 7-6, 10-3. Now the last 2 years, it's been 7-6, 7-6. They're literally on pace to go 10-3.
10-3 this year. I can see. You know what though?
Craziest thing.
Well, this is what we all kind of talk about too, guys. Let me stop sharing the screen. We always talk about teams like Arkansas, the Kentuckys, the Ole Misses. Usually, it's like every fourth year, it's like they gear up to have a good year because they just don't have the depth, right? So they really got to develop their players, right? And so now you're seeing a team that is laid out with seniors, right? Seniors and juniors, upper class,
super seniors,
and this might be their year where it all gels together because they just don't have the depth, that talent like a Alabama does, or like a Georgia does, or in Oklahoma, or so Texas, so they don't have that depth of talent because they can't recruit at that level, but they can supplement portal, which they've done at the quarterback position pretty successfully over the last 3 or 4 years. I was really bullish on the Devin Leary. I thought that was going to work out good last year, folks.
You and me both,
man. I was like,
both of you were high on that one.
Dude, I was
so wrong.
Dude, I was like, if Leary can return to form, not the last year at NC State, but the previous year prior to him getting hurt, I was like, oh my God, they're going to be sick. But they were a 7-6 team, right? But yeah, it's just if you can supplement the talent that they've been growing there, like a Barian Brown and Key and some of those offensive linemen, right? Supplement that with a good quarterback or a necessary piece like a Davis, right? Then that's when the team starts to roll. And I think this might be the year where they do have those super seniors and juniors that this could be the year that they roll. Hopefully it's just not when they play Texas.
Yeah, and my bad. I misspoke on that one. My apologies. It was 7-6, 7-6, 10-3, 8-5, and then 5-6 because that was the COVID year. They played all their games. It would have been 7-6, 10-3, 7-6, 7-6. They're back on pace for it. But also on top of that, losing all those running backs that they've lost.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I have the most questions because they're infamous for just running it down your throat. That's the big thing with Mark Stoops. He's always physical, and that's what's made them a challenge in the SEC. Not that they teams can get past them, but everybody I've heard talk about Kentucky, they're just like, oh yeah, they beat you up physically.
Yeah.
Like they're just a physical squad to go against. It's going to be interesting.
So this year,
as I get my camera situated, I did want to say one thing going on to this. Kentucky has a defensive lineman who is going to be a monster, Deion Walker.
Yeah, Walker.
He's going to be a beast. And I did want to, not SEC related, but I saw Brandon Wadley, shout out everybody in the chat. He says, my dark horse team to make the playoffs that nobody's talking about is Wisconsin. They will have a great running game and a very good coaching staff. Completely agree on both of those fronts. Interested in the quarterback play because Tyler Van Dyke, as far as I understand, hasn't taken the steps they were hoping he would. But, gentlemen, they also have arguably one of the top 3 best defensive backs in the nation on that team, and Ricardo Hallman, a guy who I was praying would hit the transfer portal because he has a connection to Coach Hitchler, who is now at Alabama, and I was hoping the entire time, like, oh, please let Ricardo Hallman had like 7 interceptions last year. Like, he is just a defensive back you do not test.
Yeah.
Fair point,
man.
Can you guys hear me okay? I'm testing sound right now. I know people.
You're a little low, but we can hear you.
It's just a tad low. Hey, Ty, I think you're frozen. Is Ty frozen, guys?
He is frozen for me, too.
Yeah, I'm trying to work.
Ty broke something again.
There you go. There you go.
Welcome back. Back.
Yeah, so look,
Ty's
man.
Back.
Yeah, he's back. Who's the Kentucky running back this year? Isn't it what's the kid's name?
It's DeMonte Chip.
Trainum, right? Trainum.
Yeah, Trainum.
Yeah, Trainum. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna check his stats out because
5'11", 233. No. Jesus Christ, he's a big boy.
He broke his hand. He broke his hand.
Is he the one that got his hand broken?
Tranium breaks hand out multiple weeks.
When did it happen today?
Yesterday.
Oh man, it sucks for the kid.
So
man.
it's Demi Sumo Car.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that. And then you got Will Cox as well.
Karnbayi.
Yeah, so that's
I don't know how to say.
I don't know how to say it either. So you got a senior and then 3 true freshmen. Yep. Oh no, I'm sorry, a senior, a redshirt freshman, and and 2 true freshmen.
Yep.
Which, okay, running back's one of those positions, right, where
long as you can pass block, you can be young.
That's true.
That's it, man. Can you pass block?
And Tavani Mazzell was I mean, Georgia and Oklahoma was after him heavy.
Yeah.
Then when he decommitted from Georgia, he ended up at Kentucky. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. Stoops is a good coach, man. I know people give him hell, but he's not a bad coach, man. And he plays tough, and he's in a kind of crazy job atmosphere because he doesn't get all the recruits because he's at Kentucky. It's not, like fertile ground when it comes to recruiting as well. So he kind of has to get leftovers from the SEC, and he does the best of what he has. And, for him to get guys like Barian Brown to even commit to them as a 5-star, right? That's tough, man. That's tough to do. He's able to, just kind of reel that in as well. And to entice 3 really good quarterbacks at the previous school to come play for him at Kentucky. 2 of those guys are earning paychecks right now in the league, and Devin Leary, and also Levis as well, right? And so he's been able to really recruit from the portal, standpoint. If he was at a bigger school, he will really be able to recruit. It's just that he doesn't have that luxury at Kentucky. So schools like Kentucky are very probably content with him doing what he's doing and being 7-6 and, maybe, 7-6 or 7-5. I mean, possibly 8-4. Those are really good years for him. And then every 3rd or 4th year winning 9, maybe 10 games. Right. So tough spot for him, man. But the other wild card teams, man, I'm seeing a lot of like Auburn in the chat. I don't want to talk about Auburn now because we talked Auburn out like last week.
Hold on. Y'all talked Auburn.
You don't need to talk Auburn. You are not a Auburn liker. So why would we go and talk about you?
I'll be fair as always.
No.
Right? I will.
Do you see him as a dark horse?
No, and I'm going to tell you why right now. I just don't understand how you could. Their wide receiver room is going to be elite. There's no question. They have some monsters at the wide receiver room. But guys, the wide receiver is one of those positions where you got to have the ball thrown to you. They still have Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all watched their spring game, but it was tough. And early reports from what I've heard is that it's not looking great with Peyton Thorne, right? It's not looking great. On top of that, I think that their running back room is going to be really good as well.
Yeah, Hunter's going
right?
to be good.
Yeah, Hunter could be an all SEC back.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Wide receiver room and running back room, I grant you. Like, if they had a quarterback that was consistent, I would sing a bit of a different tune. But my questions for Auburn are quarterback, defensive back, because they went into the transfer portal heavy for some defensive backs, and whenever it got to their spring game, it looked like it was something where the defensive backs were told, hey, don't guard anybody, let the offense do a bit of a showcase, and even then it wasn't pretty. That defensive back room was not great, and I think that they will grow to be better, but I don't know that they're going to be the defensive back room this year that they really would like them to be, though I do like some of the young talent they have. Antonio Kite transfers from Alabama to Auburn. Young, green, unreal ceiling. I mean, just an unreal ceiling, and whenever he grows into that, he is going to be a great player. But guys, and this is where you guys are going to laugh, my biggest question for Auburn is Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is one of those coaches that would play Alabama tough, then go lose to Memphis, then go have 30 points dropped on him by Florida and not be able to score anything. Hugh Freeze can't put together a consistent season, like to save his life. They didn't prep for New Mexico State because they wanted to pool all their resources on Alabama. They lost to New Mexico State, and then Hugh, in all of his infinite wisdom, decided to rush 2 people and have 2 quarterback spies on Jalen Milroe in 4th and 31. And then, so my 3 questions for Auburn: defensive back, quarterback, and head coach. Is Hugh Freeze an offensive mastermind? Yes. Does he also make some of the most puzzling decisions in all of football? Yes. The other day he was talking about how I should have 4 wins against Nick Saban.
Well,
You know,
don't.
you've played him close. I grant you that, but I could equally say you shouldn't have any because one of the wins you had was one of those. You all remember the fumble Rooski at
Yeah,
Fort Miss,
yeah.
where it bounced off of Minka's helmet, bounced off
Yep,
of
I
3
was gonna
people.
bring that play up too.
Yep.
So if we're really doing that math, Hugh, you don't want to go down that road because it takes away your wins as well. He's an offensive mastermind, but the one that really just confused me is when he was like, "Oh, we were up 21 points or 24 points on Alabama, and we should have taken our foot off the gas." In what world does that make sense? So
He
you're
said,
just
what did
going.
he say? We should have taken our foot off. the
Yes,
gas?
he said we kept trying to push too much. You didn't have a defense.
Yeah.
You had to keep scoring, or else what happened happened. They adjusted. You didn't. This is what I mean about Hugh Freeze. He is an offensive guru. I don't discount that, but he is goofy.
He is.
He's a goofy
But I
goober.
like Hugh. I don't know why I like Hugh. It's just I like Hugh a little bit. I don't know what it is.
High
about
school
Hugh.
girls don't like him.
I like him as a coach. So he, look, man. I'm looking at their schedule now. I get it.
It's a tough schedule.
It is. It is. I'm just looking at these first 4 games. Look, last week we talked about this, right? I was saying, look, they should be 4-0. But then Jay kind of reminded me that the Cal game, they only won 14-10 last year, right? But that was at Cal. I don't know, man.
Are they going to beat New Mexico?
They should. They're going to beat New Mexico this year. I don't think they let this happen again.
Ty, if you go back and watch last week's video, I asked the
He
same.
he did. He
question,
did.
my friend.
He did. He did.
I feel like that Dr. Evil scene where he first sees Mini-Me and he's like, eh.
I'm thinking, no, because
So Ty,
everything
so what are
you
we
said
saying?
was
Are we
spot on,
saying
brother.
that Auburn's going to be a 7-5 team this year?
I think that's fair, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here trying to say Auburn's going to be a bad team because their running back room is dangerous. I think they have an adequate offensive line. I don't think it's a Joe Moore award-winning unit, but I do think it's adequate for them to be able to get damage done. Wide receiver room is insane. Cam Coleman is
He's a beast.
monster. I mean,
child.
that guy is a monster. He's going to go off. Perry Thompson, monster. I don't trust Hugh, right? Like, I just can't trust Hugh Freeze to be consistent because at no point in his career has he shown he's worthy of the trust of a consistent season. Even when he had that talented team at Ole Miss, they lost to Memphis. They had Florida drop 30 on him. Like, it's just that's the biggest question to me.
Ty,
That's
can I
funny.
share some Kool-Aid of what made me go to the point of putting them in this dark horse category?
For sure.
I spent some time in the Auburn spaces last night on Anonymous.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Did you go take a shower afterwards?
Wow.
You
Hey,
watched
and that didn't even come from me.
you watched
I
that
know,
stuff
right?
off you? Hey man, look, I was in Montgomery for a whole year. That's Auburn territory, right? I'm just asking, did you take a shower after that? Okay.
Oh man, y'all are brutal, man. No, so in all seriousness though, these brothers were actually having a reasonable. It was all Auburn fans, so like nobody was like screaming at each other or anything like that. But they were kind of talking about like why people are sleeping on us and like we have a real chance this year to end up in the SEC championship game. And here's
I'm
why.
not saying that.
And like they brought up, they have our boy Nino Bug Thompson is now there at safety. Right?
Well, okay. Let me stop.
they-
I won't say anything.
They
He's
brought
a
in
hard-working, smart-ass player.
I love
He's
Bug.
love
I'm a
him.
big fan of him.
The speed just
But
wasn't there,
The
and
speed
and
is-
it's the issue. But he's always in the right spot at the right time because he's technically sound and smart as hell, and that's one thing I will give him.
they brought up Jarquez Hunter, and
Yeah.
the
He's a
fact
monster.
that
No
they
argument
feel
there.
like at the line of scrimmage we're going to be a very physical team because we have a downfield presence in Cam Coleman, and Peyton Thornton just has to be good enough. We'll be able
there
to
it
move the
is.
football with
See, I know, man.
So-
that's
so
my.
that's what they were selling me.
That's what I was told by Auburn people at SEC Media Days. Literally was that Hugh Freeze excels at putting a whole bunch of really good skills position people around a mediocre quarterback. And they just need Thorne to do just enough to get it into their hands, and then the skills guys can do all the work. And
Did he even have a 1,000-yard wide receiver when he had A.J. Brown and, God, I can't – neither of them were 1,000 yards.
And DK Metcalf?
No, Hugh
he didn't.
They overvalue Hughes so much. It's incredible. You'd think that he had the rideouts.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about this, man? I'm looking at Peyton, his stats last year, man. He didn't even have 1,800 yards passing last year. I mean,
well, he also split it with Robbie Ashford, which is even more ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous.
Ashford's not even there no more.
And he couldn't pass worth a damn either. So, man, well, look. Okay, this is all I gotta say about this.
Hey, Chad Kelly did throw for 4,000 yards.
That's why I was like taken aback by what they said, Jay. It's because it's like, is Chad Kelly like? What do you mean a mediocre quarterback? I get at the NFL he wasn't that dude, but like Chad Kelly in college was.
Chad Kelly in college was that dude.
He was 1 year he was 4,000. The next year he threw for, but he only played 9 games. Threw for 2,700 yards.
I mean that right there says right there.
Player though.
Yeah, he was very good player.
He was good in college. He was very good.
Very good college player.
He had good college talent. The last point I wanted to make from the Auburn spaces was, and I know a few other people have made this point as well. Well, we had Alabama and Georgia on the ropes, and Peyton didn't even throw for over 100 yards. To me, that gets canceled out by the loss. State.
Yeah,
and getting cranked by Maryland. I don't care if it was a bowl game. You got cranked by Maryland.
And in Bama's defense, it was at Jordan Hare, and I forgot to light the sage before the game, so that one was really on me.
You guys are crazy. Oh man! All right, so this is my only saving grace that I had for them last week, and I get to the super chat here in a minute for Matthew Miller. Thanks, Matt, for the $5 holla, man. My only saving grace that I had for them was they didn't lose by a lot each game, right? I mean, I know that sounds so bad to say, right? Like they didn't get blown out a lot. I mean, LSU, all right, it's a 30-point LSU.
You got blown out by New Mexico State. Bro.
Yeah.
You got skunked.
They did get skunked there. But all right.
Raymond, I don't think that Hugh was the coach there, though, because he had to step down for calling over, I think it was 12 escorts on university homes.
Oh, man. Hold on, man. We got a super chat here. Matthew Miller, thanks, man, for the $5. She goes, on average, 25 teams have 3+ wins or -3 year compared to the year before. That is over the last 5 years. So that is 4 to 5 SEC teams. Who is your candidate? All right, I'm trying to figure out the question, Matthew.
Let me give you the ranked SEC teams, the top, because now we have the.
That's got you right
bowl,
here.
Right.
You got Georgia, Texas, Bama. So that's 1, 4, 5. Ole Miss 6. You've got Missouri 11. LSU 13, Tennessee 15, Oklahoma 16, A&M 20.
A&M's 20?
Yeah.
Okay, I see you, A&M.
That's why I didn't put A&M in the dark horse because
okay.
That's fair. I think this question is tough.
This is a tough one.
Honestly, I think I got one, and this is one of the dark horses. South Carolina. I think South Carolina's going to be better than people expect overall, right? Schedule-wise, pull up their schedule, but their schedule-wise, traveling to Kentucky is going to be tough. That LSU game at home may not be as tough as we still trying to figure out what LSU is because it'll be early. So they got lucky to get LSU early while they're trying to work everything out with a new defensive coordinator and defensive staff and a new quarterback. That 3-game stretch. That 3-game stretch of Ole Miss, Bama, and Oklahoma.
Man, but look, okay, so really,
and if their offensive line is what it was last year, that's
oh my god,
tough.
Dude,
they're gonna get
Jay, they're about to get it handed to them. Look here, man.
But hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out.
Oh, they want to
If
get
they
murdered.
can squeak out one win in that 3-game spurt, like if they come off that bye week, which Ole Miss isn't, because I think the week before that game, Ole Miss has a tough one. Let me go pull them up real quick.
They're not even guaranteed to get past Kentucky the second week.
No. You are 100% right, but they have Kentucky at home right before South Carolina. And we talked about how physical Kentucky is.
Yeah.
If Kentucky knocks somebody out, make things a little bit, muddy going into that, and then they go and they have to travel, and they have to travel to Ole Miss. Travel to South Carolina could be a challenging game. Now, those two back-to-back road games is going to be hard,
Man,
but
this
that
gonna
back
be
half is winnable. The back half is winnable.
Dude, they got a 5 games in 6-game stretch from LSU to A&M, right? Now, mind you, they got 2 bye weeks in between there, but they got LSU at home, which is good, but
early,
which means both teams are going to be healthy, which means I'm going to favor LSU in that game. You know what I'm saying?
I'm there. I'm there in that same mindset. Typically, my only point is we still don't know what LSU is. This is going to be them figuring out with all these new pieces that they've added, right?
They can't be any worse than last year on defense. They got to be. If LSU is if LSU improves from, what was your defense ranked last year? 100th and what? 120th or something?
It was like 117th in pass defense. Like, it was abysmal. And they struck out on every defensive lineman they wanted from the portal, like the big name guys. And Taylor's gone.
Yeah.
I worry about. I have concerns, not questions. I have
concerns about their line. So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Early, it could work out for South Carolina. By mid-season, LSU should have most of that stuff figured out. But early, bro, they could take advantage of that.
All right, so this is my thing with them, right?
Jay.
This is my thing with them. I think LSU has too much talent on that team, and I like the addition of Bo Davis there. I know people are going to say, "Oh, because he came from Texas." No, Bo Davis is a damn good defensive line coach. My only thing with that is
he's a monster. Right?
Yeah, he was a monster, man.
The guy's a monster.
Yeah, so my only thing with that is it usually takes that second year to kind of see some real results that come from that, man, because they got to go through the whole, off season with him. And
Gordon Ramsay can't cook if there's no ingredients in the kitchen.
That is true. That is true. So, damn it, man. Well, look, they don't have a lack of talent in the defensive line room. I wouldn't say it's a lack of talent. They always have talent, man. I don't think talent's the problem. I think they just haven't been coached well. If they could, if that defense goes from 117th in pass defense to 85th or 89th, I'm not asking them to be a top 30 team in defense and passing. If they go up from 117th to 85th in the country, LSU has another win in their record last year, and they are a 10-2 team.
Shout out to my resident Georgia fan, Fanatic Sports. Coach I, what's up? He says, healthy South Carolina will upset LSU. Book it. Fascinating. I'm just, hey, as Steven's in there, but go ahead, Steven. Yeah, give us your answer on it.
So, first off, Jay, I agree with the point you made about sometimes it's not if you play somebody, but when you play them.
Yeah.
I agree with that point because we've seen too many times somebody is one team in September and a completely different team in November. Depends on when you catch them. To Matthew's question, Georgia could be a -3, potentially. Their schedule's very difficult compared to last season.
Oh, that's good.
They were
Spicy.
13-1.
That's
they
good.
finished 13-1 on the year. All it takes is for them to lose 2 regular season games, and then they drop a bowl or a championship game. That's not ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right?
And Steven, to kind of piggyback on that, man, Georgia doesn't have the benefit of having the easy SEC East schedule anymore now. They got to really play some teams now. And that's one thing I know Ty's been harping on for forever, is that the SEC East schedule is not the SEC West schedule.
They got 5 tough games this year.
They got some tough games this year.
It's neutral site, but they open with Clemson.
At the crib, basically. Atlanta.
At the second
2 hours away.
At the second crib, the backup crib.
That's the backup crib, but it's also 2.5 hours away from Clemson, too. They travel well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Clemson they dry there. I mean, they
Clemson-
travel to Kentucky, they travel to Bama, they travel to Texas, and they travel to Ole Miss. With Tennessee the week right after Ole Miss too.
It's going to be interesting.
Oh,
You know-
neutral site game against Florida at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. In
That is
Jacksonville.
true. Hey,
A
so
lot
look.
of movement.
All right, Jay, but look, I want to get back on this South Carolina game. All right. Let's say they,
He's trying to find the hole. Look,
I'm
man.
trying to find a way.
get it.
I'm trying to get them to 8-4. Right? I'm trying to get them to 8-4. I just don't see it right now. I just don't see anything. Look, man, I think LSU's gonna beat them. I just do. I got faith in Brian Kelly as a coach for the early season games. He's always pretty decent there. Ole Miss, that's the kicker. What does Ole Miss do? Right? How does Ole Miss turn out with all this talent? Lane never had this kind of talent by himself at Ole Miss. I want to see how Lane has his talent rocking and rolling. You know, he has some, some misfits, some guys that weren't culture fits at different areas. Can they be culture fits at Ole Miss? I don't know. Texas tried that when Sark came in his first year, and we saw what happened with that, right? There's a reason why those guys were culture misfits and now with other programs. Then you got Bama at Bama. That ain't happening. Then you got Oklahoma at Oklahoma. I don't think that's happening either. I think Oklahoma beats them. They got a bye week. They got A&M at home, though. That's going to be iffy. But A&M's defense, man, if that South Carolina offensive line, like Ty said, is garbage, A&M's defensive line is not bad, man. I mean, I like A&M's defense, and they got a defensive-minded coach. Elko's a hell of a defensive mind.
I'm way higher on Elko than I was on Jimbo. Like
Yes.
I like
exponentially
Elko
higher.
as well.
Yes,
They're
yes.
going to be technically sound. They're going to be disciplined.
They're going to do what they're supposed to do, right? I mean, they're going to play to the level of what they can get out of those players that they got there. So A&M's going to be a problem. Then they got Vanderbilt. They beat Vanderbilt. Missouri's going to be a problem. Oh, man, they got a tough schedule, dude. And then, I thought that was Notre Dame when I saw the helmet, but then I just saw it was Wolford. All right, you should be Wolford. And then you got Clemson, right? So Clemson at Clemson. Man, hey, Jay, I don't know what you're talking about, dog. They're going to lose 1, 2. I got them 3, 4, 5. I got them 6 and 6. I got them 5 and 7. 6 and 6. I got them 6 and 6, man.
I think Jay's a big Shane Beamer guy.
I like Shane.
All I'm saying is it's not a wild thought is kind of my point.
I'm like what
Right.
Kendrick said, man. I like Shane when he had what's the boy name? Spencer. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah.
like him when he act tough. You know what I mean? I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he act tough. You know what I mean?
Hey, look, I like Sellers, man. I'm wondering what Sellers is going to end up being.
I like
and then you
Sellers.
add
I like
him with
Sellers,
Harbor
too.
as well.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Stewart
And
in the
they got
defensive
Rocket
line.
Sanders.
Rocket Sanders at the running back position.
Oh, they got
Yeah, they have pieces. That's why my big question is the offensive
Defensive
line.
line. I am the exact same
Offensive
spot.
line takes steps. They're going to surprise
They're gonna
people.
be-
But if
they-
it doesn't, wowie wow. It's
Same
going
old,
to be a
same
rough
old.
year. Yeah.
So hey, talking about Rocket, he came from Arkansas, right?
Yep.
Let's talk.
Let's talk about Arky, man. I know Arky the teams in the chat too that we talked about. Texas. plays
Arky's gonna be good in the back half of their schedule.
What the hell's going on here?
Ads. Arkansas is gonna be good at the back half of their schedule.
That's
They're
very
a team I
good.
would not want to see late October through the rest of the year. And I say that because by then, Sam Pittman will be fired. Bobby Petrino will be placed in there like they've been wanting this entire time. And then those players are going to play lights out for Bobby Petrino. Like they've got players. Their problem is Pittman just has lost everything in the room. They're going to be dangerous in October. I mean, I think, Stephen, when we talked about it, you expect firing around the first bye week, right? So if the expectation is the first bye week, they fire their coach, right? Post Tennessee because they get throttled by them at the crib because Tennessee's coming off a bye week while they're coming from a neutral site game in Arlington. There's a very good chance that going into LSU and the two Mississippis, they have a whole new coaching staff and they get a bye week before Texas.
You know what though? I don't know about this.
I would actually be fine if that happened, because I'm going to tell you all this. If Bama's defense is good, I'm not even saying great, but like if they show the ability to be pretty good, I worry about them going after Kane Womack.
Yep.
And I'm very happy if they are because he's also an Arkansas alum. So I would be much happier if they were to go ahead and get their situation figured out during the season.
What is a Kane coach?
He's the defensive coordinator at Bama.
Ooh, yeah, Bobby Petrino will probably definitely go after him.
But okay, guys. All right, I see what we're saying here, right? I get what you're saying.
And Arkansas got
Jay.
Remember, Arkansas got money. They
got
got Calipari. They got money. They just got Calipari, and they're
They
paying
got that
for
Walmart
players.
money.
Tyson and Walmart are finally spending money on their favorite team. So
this is going to be interesting, man. Because what if the addition of Bobby Petrino, with Sam Pittman as the head coach, what if they do kind of go on and have a good win streak, and after Tennessee they are 4-2, or you know what I'm saying? So what if they're 4-2, or
build a statue if they're 4-2?
Build two of them.
I mean, honestly though, look, we just talked about how we're not bullish on Auburn.
Yeah,
huh?
I'm very excited to hear this.
No, all right. So look, do we think Oklahoma State's going to be outstanding this year?
They should win. They're a Big 12.
They don't have any excuse not to be.
Yeah, it's between them and Utah, I think, at the top of the Big 12.
So you mentioned this. You mentioned this before, and this is. I was going to actually mention this too. In that point, you talked about Kentucky and how every so many years, like Arkansas, they have a tendency of showing out because they bring in all them players. Oklahoma State's another great example of that, because Gundy somehow always have like 12th year seniors on his roster every other year. I don't know how you're able to get that many kids to actually stick around one place and not play it down, but he brings back a lot of players also, and they're number 3 in the country when it comes to that. So as far as returning production. So to me, Arkansas, if Petrino's taking over that job, period. Right? We just go ahead and
I'm fine with that, because I don't think Womack would leave Bama DC for Arkansas DC. But I do think if the head coaching position was open,
he would take the head coaching job.
Those opportunities don't come often, especially at your alma mater.
Nope, they don't. And if it's your alma mater, you typically take it.
My only thing with this, man, is what if Petrino turns it off and surround and they're humming like crazy in the first 6 games, and they do go off and go 4-2? You know what I'm saying? Like, it could happen. It could happen. If Pittman says, Petrino, the offense is yours, I'm not touching you. Right? Yep. Like what Jimbo should have did. Right?
I think
like
that's
if
what
Pittman's
gonna do.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what I'm getting at, right? Sam concentrates on the defense side of the ball, and he's basically like a glorified DC. And Bobby Petrino is the OC, and this thing rocks, man. I got a feeling that this could be good, because Steven, you brought up the good point in the chat today about the transfer quarterback that they got in from Boise State that I wasn't even tracking.
Yeah, so Taylor Green, who is, by the way, 6'6", 230 pounds, and runs like, he's a breakaway runner. He had a 70-yard touchdown run in the Mountain West Championship game, and he's played in the last 2 Mountain West Championship games because Boise State was a good football team, right? So he's has a lot of experience. And to the point earlier that was made about schools like Auburn, or it was more Kentucky, these teams having to go to the portal to go to some of these high-end G5s or lower-end D1 schools that maybe there's a coaching change, that's where they're starting to supplement their roster from. Arkansas listen to these 2 names. Taylor Green, who they picked up, who is a more explosive version of KJ Jefferson. Let's just the size and all that. It's people are going to make the comparisons. And they pick up Jaquindon Jackson from Utah to be their running back. And that guy's going to be a freaking sledgehammer behind those Arkansas offensive linemen who how they rock. Right?
Dude, so JJ is tough.
That backfield with JJ and Taylor Green that's not like, you can't overlook that.
Dude, I was Steven, I was so worried when they lost Rocket, and I was like, who are they gonna get to replace him? When I heard JJ's going over there, it's like, all right, I got you. I see it. I see what's happening over here.
So they've got some really interesting pieces on this team with Bobby Petrino, but also guys like Landon Jackson on defense.
Oh yeah, man is sick.
Like they're not bad. Oklahoma State, by the way, has to open with San Diego State, and they're like this second best team in the FCS. Those
Sean Lewis.
Those Dakota
hey
schools,
man, they play ball.
Oh yeah, no, South Dakota State. Yeah, South Dakota State's they don't lose.
They always got
They
good
play
talent.
physical ball. Yeah.
Who's your starting quarterback this year, man? Is it still Alan Bowman?
Yes, he's there for the 18th year.
What's his ninth year?
Roughly.
When the man come into school? Hold on, man. Let me go look at Alan Bowman.
Them CDLs are harder to get than they used to be.
Right? hey, sometimes you guys just come back. All right, I'm headed to my show, guys. I'll catch y'all on the flip.
All right, man. Holla at you. So Alan Bowman's still the quarterback?
Alan Bowman's still there, man.
That dude's like he's a 1-for-1 touchdown to interception guy. Like Arkansas could beat Oklahoma State next year.
They can. Now it'll be like the South Dakota State game between Oklahoma State. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the spread is only like 7 or 8 points for them going to Stillwater. So
let me check.
These like is
9 points. 9 point spread.
It's a 9 point spread. So Oklahoma State, everybody's Ollie Gordon's going to be, the returning Doak Walker, all that. We hear you. You have arguably the best returning offensive line in the country at Oklahoma State. Everybody that blocked for Ollie last year is back. I get that. But they got some tough tests. And I look at Arkansas as well, like moving past Oklahoma State, they're going to beat UAB. So they're going to be 2-1 at minimum. At minimum, they'll be 2-1.
Yep.
They do have to go to Jordan Hare.
That's the game. That's the game.
We just talked about Peyton Thorne and the questions we have with the quarterback and Hugh Freeze and how ridiculous he can be. If Arkansas is back to ramming people, with their offensive line and then putting athletes behind it, that's the Arkansas I grew up with, by the way.
Yeah,
it was the Jason
Darren
Peters,
McFadden.
Darren McFadden and
just throw Darren McFadden,
Julio,
and Peyton Hillis, and Felix Jones behind there.
Yeah, Felix Jones
run around these massive offensive linemen. That's a really big thing to defend in college. I'm sorry.
So and the game is kind of going, there's always that pendulum effect in college football. And we just saw a team last year who wasn't exactly 2019 LSU at throwing the ball, but damn could they run it in Michigan.
Yeah. But they had the threat of passing the ball because McCarthy was just kind of a gamer in certain instances.
Sure, but if that quarterback is coming in there and doing some things, he not only presents the threat with his arm, but with his legs as well.
And his legs too. So this is a good question from SGT Duck. He goes, "Isn't Ollie Gordon hurt for the first few weeks?" And if that's true, then that just bodes very well for Arkansas.
I haven't been tracking Oklahoma State, so I don't know if he.
No, you remember their coach said that he drives drunk too, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I heard about the duty, but I don't remember Ollie getting hurt. I haven't heard that news.
Oh man,
I haven't heard that either. But did you hear that interview he gave?
Oh yeah,
that was trash.
And I was like, "What are you saying?"
So trash. What coach says
that out loud?
Yeah, I can't either. That was the thing that got me. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting, man. I'm excited.
It is. I mean, it's Sam Pittman's last stand, and I think that there's been times where I somebody made the comment that he's loved there. I do think that those people really love him and they want him to succeed. They're giving him every chance.
Texas, almost like Texas and Charlie Strong.
Hell, I want him to succeed.
Most schools would have fired him last year. Let's just keep it a buck. They would have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Most schools would have fired that guy. They kept him. And look, if this is also why the dark horse thing is fun, because let's say that they do lose to Oklahoma State, they do lose to Auburn, but then they beat the Aggies in Arlington. Let's
Yeah.
say that
That's gonna be interesting.
it's Fright Night Part 2 in Vietnam, because I could see a mediocre Arkansas team and we in Texas, and we go in there, and for whatever reason, we all of a sudden can't tackle that quarterback, and he runs around or does something like we've had. We saw it with Donovan Smith a couple years ago,
Yeah.
throwing the ball at Texas, another big guy.
Yeah.
So there's not.
It's not.
Like,
Yeah. It's not far fetched.
It's not far fetched,
Yeah.
right? And if he beats some of these teams, then they're going to be like, well, we beat our rivals.
Dude,
so let's give
Arkansas
them-
has a tough schedule though. Look, man, after those first 6 games, if they're 4-2, it's a blessing, right? Be honest with you. But then, dude, you got LSU, Mississippi State shouldn't be too bad, but then Ole Miss, then Texas, and you got La Tech, and then you got Missouri to finish off the season. They might have the toughest schedule in the SEC, or one of them. You got the number 17 team in the country,
I
number
think
20
Georgia
team in the
and O- I think
country.
Georgia and OU still got them.
Yeah, I
And
keep forgetting,
Florida.
man. Yeah, Florida and OU. OU
Florida
has a difficult
Florida
schedule.
has the toughest schedule.
Yeah, Florida sucks right now, and so does OU schedule. Hey, Sergeant Doug, sorry about that. And Sergeant Doug, I am military, so I didn't even think. I was just reading, man. My bad. He was like, "You guys know how to say Sergeant." I was just reading comments. My bad, Sergeant Doug. That never happened again, big dog. Yeah. Yep. Here's Raymond. He
Charges to my
said,
head, not my heart.
"Yeah, man."
Yes. Speaking of Florida, do they have any chance? I mean, I put them in dark horse out of respect.
Let me
Out
see
of
the
respect.
The
source.
way
to
you
the program.
framed that is so funny to me, man. It's
Let's look
not
at
even.
Florida
Are they
schedule.
not, did they have any chance? That's elite. That's elite. That made the night for me. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
this was good. We'll look at Florida schedule, and then we'll probably close it out tonight, guys. This is gonna be all right. Florida opens
I have
up
a
with
question
Miami.
for y'all though,
Yeah.
because we're looking at this Florida schedule.
Holy shit! Look at the back end.
I
of their
know.
schedule.
I know. I mean, I mean, in Kentucky might not be ranked. That's not a walk in the park. UCF isn't
God.
exactly a walk in the park. So you have Mississippi State, right? Then you have
My God.
Mississippi State's probably one of the easier matchups on their roster just because of all the changes they've undergone over the past few years. But you got Texas A&M. You have Mississippi State, you have a bye week, then you go UCF, Tennessee, Kentucky, another bye, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State.
Jesus,
That
Christ.
sucks. That sucks.
Dude. That might be 5 straight losses.
But here's
No,
here's-
I think that's 5 straight losses. I hate to say it. I'm just
yeah, and I agree, Fanatic. I don't think Florida sucks. I think their schedule sucks. But
Dude.
here's my question
I
for
agree
both
as
of you,
well.
right? Because everybody talks about Billy Napier, and I know next week is the week where we're going to be really talking more hot seat, right,
Yeah.
for these guys.
Mhm.
I've been operating under a theory, though, and Fanatic, he's heard me say this. He knows exactly where I'm going. I think that there's another coach in the state of Florida that seat is would, depending on this year, will be pretty darn hot as well,
Cristobal.
and that's Mario.
Cristobal.
He
Yep.
just got in Cam Ward. If we looked at Miami's schedule, which I know this is the SEC Connect, but if in the ACC Connect, we looked at Miami's schedule, it's a cakewalk. If they underperform, I think there's an argument that in a roundabout way, Cristobal has as much pressure on him as Billy Napier has on him, because at least if I'm Billy, I'm looking at my administration saying, hey, we're not in a rebuild this year, but we're in the process of building something here, and I drew the hardest schedule in college football. What's Mario's excuse if it doesn't go well?
Dude, Mario, I mean, look at his schedule, bro. They got one ranked team one ranked team.
So do y'all agree with that? Disagree with that?
I completely agree, and I'm going to add on to it, Ty. Florida State just won the ACC, and they hadn't done that in a while, right? Since Jimbo.
Mm-hmm.
So now that they've gotten off, now that they're back to life of the standard, so to speak. that's even more pressure
Great point.
on
Didn't even think
Mario.
of that.
Yeah.
To get it back right too, because they're looking at Florida State like, yo, they got it right down there. So he needs to treat this Florida game on August 31st like a Super Bowl for these
True.
kids.
Yeah.
Because if they can get by there, these
They're-
teams are so basically until Virginia Tech comes at the end of the month, and and they have to go to Cal, but I mean, they're going to be pretty good until they get to Florida State, unless
That's
they just
it.
fall, and, especially with Cam Ward there, and if he's healthy, like there's no excuse. There's no excuse with this schedule, and it's kind of easy down the back end of the season.
Oh, kind of. They got Duke, who
Going
just
into
lost
the-
their head coach.
It might be the most favorable schedule for a prospective conference championship.
Would it be fair? And I hate doing this to coaches because, there's always context and nuance. But with this type of schedule and the team he has, the money they've spent in NIL, the speed that they have on that team, by the way, that they've acquired and we've seen from them, is it ACC championship appearance at minimum or bust for Miami at this point? Or is he?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, they got to go to the. I mean, man, look at this
At
schedule.
least an appearance.
Look at this schedule.
You don't draw Clemson.
Look at this schedule. They don't have Clemson or North Carolina. Look at this schedule. They got Florida State, and I
do agree with Raymond. Syracuse is going to be. I don't know how
good.
good they're going to be. Good. Yeah, I think they'll be good. I don't know how good, but I'm really excited for Syracuse.
Yeah,
really am.
that's going to be interesting too. Also, Louisville played really tough last year too as well. They did play tough last year. I think they ended the season pretty well ranked too as well. So they're going to play tough. They just don't have a good quarterback, right? So Miami should just be able to out talent Louisville. They should, but again, they ran instead of kneeled, right? Yeah. So this is a cakewalk schedule, man. This is an 11-1 at worst schedule. This should be for them an 11-1 schedule.
I didn't mean to derail it, but everybody I talked to, and I love y'all's take, so I had to get y'all's opinion on this. Everybody's talking about Napier as having all this pressure on him, and I'm not saying Napier doesn't have pressure, but if I'm Napier and his people, I'm sitting there looking at this saying like, okay, if I don't have a bowl appearance, I'm sitting there and saying, look, we're building something. Next year's schedule is going to be brutal too. Do you really want to rebuild an entire new coaching staff in another brutal schedule? Or can we just keep trending in a direction that's positive? Miami, they don't have that. If it does not work with Cam Ward, and last thing I'll say on this, Steve, I loved your point. Here's another one. If it doesn't work with Cam Ward, he will have had multiple quarterbacks not play up to their standard. Yeah. Tyler Van Dyke regressed.
Derek King.
Well, I think
he was
King
before.
There, he was with I don't know why I just forgot his name, but yeah, he was the one before.
That's right.
When he was at Oregon, their quarterback over there, once again, I don't know why I just forgot his name. Great quarterback, went very high in the draft,
Justin Herbert.
Thank you. He threw like 30% of his passes behind the line of scrimmage. Like that offense was just kind of handcuffing him. If it doesn't work with Cam Ward, that's a big red flag. I don't know. I really wanted to get y'all's take on that.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
People don't like being embarrassed. And I hate to say this, but like that game they lost last year where they should have taken a knee. That's still like that's still crushing the internet right now. And the way you overcome things like that is you just go out and whoop ass, right? And
but it's the second time it's happened under his tutelage. The first time was 2017 Oregon versus Stanford. So this isn't even a new thing for him.
Mario's under it. If we can go back to Florida just for a quick
let's look at Florida.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. That was good. That was a good talk on that one.
I just want to, I
mean, they got a tough schedule.
It's tough, but here's the thing, though. Here's if I'm trying to think about this because I really like Billy. I know I do too. On his ass about stuff, but it's a lot of it's just not it's bad luck.
It's just luck of the draw, man. He got the bad end of the stick for the last couple years.
Horrible luck. Now, nobody has worse luck right now than the Minnesota Vikings, but that's another story for another day.
Too soon.
Oh man, sorry,
Oh, no.
sorry. But with Billy Napier, the good thing is you should have your kids' attention every single week, because they're like every single week. There's no reason why we shouldn't have great practices. There's no reason why we shouldn't be. I mean, what's the message to these guys, right? Like, hey, every single week, like we're playing a freaking juggernaut. So this is an opportunity for NFL to really show something, to show like just to be prideful as a Florida team, right? I mean, Lagway is sitting there. Graham Mertz, I think, played well enough to where you can feel comfortable with him holding on to the job for a little bit.
Yeah.
I know people are questioning when does DJ take over? If he takes over this year, he was rated as the top backup in the country, which a lot of people are already assuming that it's going to be his job eventually. But you also want to protect the guy, right? And not throw him to the wolves and crush his development either. So how do you navigate that if you're Billy Napier? But I do think at least you have the kids' attention every single week. You can't have a shitty practice Georgia week.
That's
You can't
true.
have a shitty practice Texas week, LSU week. Like, so.
And look, man, I want to talk about something too, man. I was pretty hard on Graham Mertz last year, man. I gotta kind of take that back, man. He actually played pretty well last year, man. Just all things considered, man. He played really well.
He's not the reason they lost games.
Exactly, man. I mean, he almost had 2,900 yards, 20 touchdowns, 3 picks. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, for a team that's in the rebuild, I'll take it any day for my starting quarterback. I'll take it any day. What is 73%? 73% freaking completion percentage, dude. 73%, 72.9%, almost 3,000 yards, 20 TDs, and 3 interceptions.
Hot take. I think they beat Florida State if he's healthy.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. What was the final score of that game? It wasn't too crazy.
They were also on their third quarterback too, weren't they?
Yes, exactly. In all fairness to Florida State, I think a healthy Florida State beats Florida handily. Let me be very clear here, but
no, but I'm saying Florida was on. I think Florida was also on QB3 too. I think.
Yeah, it was. I think if I'm not mistaken, they had a raffle at halftime, and if they called your number, you could be the quarterback for either team in the second half.
What was their final record last year? Were they 5-7?
I think they were 5-7.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't go bowling last year, dude. They got a tough schedule, man. I feel bad for Billy Napier, to be honest with you, because to be honest, if they go 5-7 again, sure, he's gone. They're gonna fire him.
But do you fire him if they make a bowl?
I don't
build a statue.
I think they go 5-7, man. I think they go 5-7 at the best. I think they lose them last 5 in a row, unless there's major injuries down there. I think, huh?
Can you name 5 wins on the schedule?
No, I said at best. At best, I'm going to give them Samford. I'm going to give them Mississippi State. That's 2. Jesus Christ.
Mississippi State's tough. That's on the road.
Dude,
More cowbell.
I can't give them 5 wins, dude. I mean,
UCF is hard.
UCF is no walk in the park.
I'm struggling to give them 3 wins. I'm really struggling to give them 3.
I think that they'll sneak around. They'll beat some teams. They'll mess around.
They'll get 4 wins this year. They'll mess around and get 4 wins.
Tennessee, they can win. Kentucky, they can win. UCF, they can There's some teams in here that they can upset.
They got some games like they got A&M at home, right? You got Miami at home. You should be up for that game. You should be up for that game, right?
We got a Gator fan in the chat. Hey, Gator swag. Swag. Let's have. Let's pull this person to the front and center. In your honest opinion, what is your prediction? I don't want to hear 11-1. Okay, be honest. Be honest, because we're not trying to hate.
No, I think all of us really do like Billy Napier. I think it would be a mistake to fire him because I think that the schedule next year is going to be brutal as well. This isn't a knock on Florida. This is
It's not.
the cards you were dealt.
with the
I don't
team
think
that you
I've
have too.
ever seen a schedule like this.
This is tough.
FT just said it in the chat.
so
FT
it
just
is-
said this is the hardest schedule he's ever seen.
Yeah,
I agree with him.
I agree. This is rough.
This is the hardest schedule I've ever seen in my life.
And the crazy thing about it, okay, guys, this is all preseason, right? This is everything on paper, so we don't know how the season's going to shake out. You know, like who would have thought? Let's say, for instance, I'm a Texas guy. We lost 2 running backs in the span of 3 days, right? And so,
True.
Just
you know,
awful,
things
too.
can happen, man. Tennessee might lose Nico, or Georgia could lose Carson Beck and Etienne. I mean, football's a brutal sport, and so we don't know exactly how this is going to look as the season progresses. At the end of the season, it's really about who's the healthiest team, right? Who's the healthiest team? Who is the most talented, healthiest team? That's the team that's going to survive, right? And so Florida has talent. They're just young. I don't think they have the depth. And they just drew a hard schedule on paper right now. But the schedule on paper might not be as hard as we think it is by week 6.
Very
Right?
fair. Very fair.
Things can shake up. Things could shake up. But right now, looking at this is one of the toughest schedules. I'm with Frightening Truth. This is one of the toughest schedules I've seen in a long ass time.
No, it's funny because like, and this isn't to anybody in particular, but everybody always says like, oh, there was this notion for a long time. SEC fans would say, oh, we have the hardest schedules. And you'd hear from other conferences, and they weren't wrong, being like, but it's not like y'all draw Georgia, then Bama, then Ole Miss, except Florida. Florida literally drew the schedule that I think so many people came out and was like, whenever SEC fans would say like, oh, the schedule's tough, I think people thought this is what we meant, and here it is, live in our face. The toughest schedule I've ever seen.
Yeah, here it is. So look here. So Fanatic says they could beat Miami, which they're going to be their Super Bowl to start the season. They got all off season to prepare for Miami. So look, it's going to be interesting. I think the Hurricanes could possibly try to overlook Florida, right? I'm not saying they will, but I don't have any trust in Cristobal. All right. But look, if they beat Miami, that's a strong statement, right? They beat A&M. I don't know. That's going to be tough, but they got A&M at home. But like I said before, Graham Mertz did not
I like
play.
that they have A&M early.
They got him early too.
I like that for them.
Let's say they beat Miami, they beat A&M, they beat Sanford, and they beat Mississippi State. That's 4. He says they beat UCF, right? So that's 5. And he goes, Kentucky, LSU, and FSU are toss-ups. I still got to see it, man. That UCF game is going to be tough.
I don't disagree, right? I don't disagree with them being toss-ups. I think that I would feel, and I'm someone who, both of you guys, you've heard me say it, I think LSU right now is being a little bit overvalued, right? They lost their Heisman Trophy winner, and I like Nussmeier. My biggest concern with their offense isn't the passing game, but Jaden Daniels was the running game last year. Like, the threat of him taking off kept teams up. Nuss isn't going to do that to you, right? Like, he's a really good pocket quarterback, and that to me is the big holdup. Now, they do have an offensive line along with Texas's that I think both of y'all will be up for that Joe Moore award, right? Will Campbell might be a top 5 player in all of college football. That guy is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
If I was Florida, I'd rather draw LSU early. I do agree with FSU though, right? Because FSU last year to me, and I said this to y'all midway through the season, right? I was like, I like FSU. I like their defense. Their defense was cold. But it felt like when your little brother's playing Madden and they would just send all goes because they knew they had wide receivers that you just couldn't defend. There never felt like a rhyme or reason to the offense. It was just, let's just get it to Keon Coleman or the 6'7" guy over there. And they don't have those pieces this year. And DJU, I really hope he gets it together. But is he going to replicate what they had last year at court? I think FSU is a really interesting one.
Very interesting. So this was all right. So Steven, you asked a question, and here's what Gator Swag said. It says
I
he has
respect
Florida
the
beating
answer.
Miami, Sanford, A&M, Mississippi State, UCF, UT meaning Tennessee, and Kentucky. That's 7 wins right there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then losing to Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, LSU,
He
but
has them
beating.
going.
He got some going 8-4.
Okay.
Okay.
That's Kool-Aid right there, brother. But you know what? Hey, I respect.
don't disagree.
I respect
Tennessee's the
that.
only one I outright disagree with you on. I think Tennessee's a tough out, especially that Viren shoot. It is.
And
I
with
can't
Nick,
say the words that I want to
Hey,
say,
but they
but
whooped Tennessee's ass last year.
yes, but I also think Nico's going to be better in that
then Joe
system
Milton.
than Milton was.
And Milton's over there
I
trying to
think.
shine in the league. Y'all see that right now?
Yeah, I think, and I don't disagree, Gator, but
They think they have a mental. They do think they have a mental thing over Tennessee.
they do. They do.
Let me see last year's schedule.
But I don't know. I think Tennessee breaks that this year, but I'm very happy to be wrong on that, Gator, and Fanatic. I'm very happy to be wrong on that.
So last year's schedule, right? This is last year.
Matthew Miller. I didn't say that. Matthew Miller said that. I didn't say that.
Holy smokes. All right, man. Look, I'm gonna look at this schedule from last year, right? All right, man. Utah, that was a tough game. That was a good game though. Okay, McNeese, they beat Tennessee, they beat Charlotte, of course. The Kentucky game, they got smoked by Kentucky. They got smoked last year with Devin Leary. They got smoked. I mean, think about that.
Was the game.
Yeah, but I think Ray Davis just went ballistic.
No. I wouldn't have given Devin Leary props. I was saying they got smoked by Kentucky.
Okay,
had Devin Leary on the team.
I hear you.
Fair play.
That's what I was getting at, right? Like, yeah, like, and Devin Leary was the quarterback. Nothing against Devin Leary. He is in the league right now.
Dog, that Mizzou game, dog, that was the one where it was like 4th and 20, dog. They left Luther Burden wide open.
Yeah. So
they would have won that game.
They beat Vanderbilt. They beat South Carolina. Georgia puts the paws on them. Arkansas was a close game. Very close game in overtime. They lose to. LSU put the paws on them. Yeah, we just talked about the Missouri game. And then Florida State. Look, okay, if you go and look at these games.
With QB3.
Yes, but so did Florida State, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all things considered, when I look at this, still looks bad. It's 5-7. But when I look at this, right, Utah's a damn good team.
Utah's Kyle Whittingham, like
beating Tennessee. Beating Tennessee.
Me too.
Is something, but you beat Tennessee at home. Now you got to go on the road. All right, Charlotte, right? Losing to Kentucky. I mean, getting stomped by Kentucky, but it was at home. So now you got them back at your crib. Okay, Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt. Look, if they lose to Vanderbilt, bye Billy. Beating South Carolina with Spencer. Good win in South Carolina. Georgia was Georgia, right? Georgia is strong. Arkansas losing to them overtime. LSU putting the paws on them, but that's LSU with the Heisman Trophy winner at that time. I mean, it doesn't look. These losses don't look that bad. It's all. I'm lying. Yeah, they do. I'm tripping. They do look bad, man. Getting beat by Kentucky by double digits, getting beat by Georgia by double digits, getting beat by LSU by double digits, and then the third string, fight out for the QB against Florida State. It is what it is, man. They got a tough ass schedule this year.
Gator Swag, I respect you though. I really do, because
he said we should have beaten Florida State. FSU, Arkansas, Missouri.
Hey, but the Missouri game, you got to cover. I don't want to hear you should have beaten somebody and then you left the guy wide open.
Not only the guy. There's one guy you can't leave open.
You beat the guy. Yeah, you let that guy, probably the best wide receiver in college football this year, and probably going to be a top 10 pick this year in the draft.
Yeah, it'd be different if it was a fluke, right? Like Ty brought up the Ole Miss play from a few years ago where it's like a tip pass and bounce off 3 or 4 people. It was like, nah, bro. Like y'all, it's 4th and 18, and like no one covered Luther Burden. That's on you.
Be different
So-
if I trotted in at wide receiver from Missouri and they're like, who the hell is that guy? And you don't cover me, right? I'm not going to blame you for that, because why would you? You were pulling your resources to Luther Burden. That's not
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, they left the man open.
You left him open.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. All right, that's Florida, guys. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. You guys ready to call this quiz today?
Yep. Next week we're doing hot seat.
Yeah, hot seat coaches and players.
Hot seat coaches and players. And some dark
Yeah.
horse
It's
players.
gonna be
some
interesting.
interesting players in the conference now, so it's gonna be a fun conversation.
Yeah,
And we're right around the corner, guys. Right around the corner. So make sure you guys hit the like button. It's cool to see various SEC fans in here. So if you guys know other, I want to see Mississippi State fans in here. I love seeing
yeah,
Florida fans in here, Arkansas fans. I know we got some LSU people always lurking all over the place. I was lurking in Auburn spaces last night. It was cool to hear their perspective.
I'm so sorry you had to do that.
yeah. Take a
Those guys
shower.
were fun.
Oh man. Oh, hey, Gator.
Chris, what, do
said-
you,
what the
Chris,
hell is that?
what do you mean?
Check your phone, brother.
No.
When do we start it every week?
He just playing with us. Chris playing with us. Well, he sent the text out and on the private text on Twitter too, and on the phone. You got it both ways, Chris. I'm gonna give you a pass, Chris. You got the baby right now. I'm gonna give you a crack. A pass, man. But Gator has the best comment today, man. Next week is football. Last weekend without football. Yes. Amen. And on that note, fellas, man, we out, man. Deuces. Appreciate you guys. Tune in next week.